So once you have both tanks hooked up, this has a dual switch so that when one runs out, it automatically goes into the other. So right now you can put it on one or the other, but then randomly throughout the week you'll want to check it, and there's going to be a little red. You can't really see it, but there's going to be it's going to be red in there, and that'll tell you that it's empty. Green doesn't do it right now. Actually, if we open this up, maybe I didn't tighten that enough. Should just be hand tightened.
Should be on there.
Oh, it's coming out that side. That's why. Now try it.
Open.
There we go. Okay, perfect. I believe, though, no, that doesn't do it. Oh, wait a second. Open it. So it's open, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not doing it. It's meant to essentially just either work on both if you have it like this. I'm not an expert on this, to be honest with you, but I think I've always just left it on one, and then when it looks like it's empty, switched it to the other.
Okay.
I think there might be the possibility where it can go like this and you can use from both. Don't quote me on that, but once you get out there, you can kind of figure out that.
Are you taking one of those into town?
Yeah.
Now, like obviously, you go get it filled up.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it should last all half the season.
Okay.
You really shouldn't have to go and get it changed out if you're the first one out for the season, and even if you're there for 30 days, unless you're in an area that's in super high use, then you might. But you got to think about it. This is only being used for the water heater, so it's really not pumping, too much, and it's not heating too much. It's just throughout the day, and invariably it gets hot enough to where the water stays pretty hot anyways. We've actually had the people kind of complain that the water's too hot, and we don't even have, and it's not even coming from the hot side, it's coming from the cold side, because the tank inside gets so warm from the heat.
Just the heat of
Nothing we can do about that, So it's just like, sorry guys, it is what it is. But yeah, you want to just check these gauges, make sure they're fine, throughout the week, and if it for whatever reason does get down, that you'll want to deal with it. Then yeah, you can go ahead and close it, and I'll show you on the inside since we're talking about that. Essentially, you'll come in here to the water heater, and we won't be able to do it now because we don't have any water, but you'll turn on that switch that gives gas to the unit itself. And then these should all stay open. There should be no reason to close these unless you have a leak somewhere, then you can close them off. We did try to put at different points shut off valves, so we've got a shut off valve here to the main, and then we've got a shut off valve right there to that, so that if we ever have to work on anything that's beyond this main thing or anything in between, you can just kind of shut these off. This is for draining the unit after
the season
with a hose.
Okay.
Yeah, or actually after each unit, or after actually each place that you go to. You cannot drive with water in these tanks, and so this is a pressure tank, and that needs to be relieved as well of water, and so that's why that's there. And we basically have this hose that we would just connect to it. We would just run out into the forest. Typically you want to do it when there's not a ton of people around. You don't want them thinking that we're leaking bad water. It is good water, right? This is good water. It's not the gray water. The gray water is going to come from the sinks and is going to go into a bladder bag that we're going to set up here in a minute. That stuff we never want leaking on the ground, right? If you have it leaking on the ground, we want to get it fixed as quick as possible. The water heater, you're going to want to light. It is, it's got all of the instructions on it. I have had this take 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes to get lit, and it's a little frustrating because you're not lighting it. It's one of those where you push to light, and it takes a little bit for the gas to get to it for whatever reason. And so just be patient with it. Try it a couple of times. If you have issues with it, let it sit open, right? Let the gas be coming into it. Maybe even push to where the gas has been coming out. You can't really hear it, but in theory, that's what you're doing when you're pushing that, is you're letting some gas out. After you've done that 2-3 times, it should light. We last season, we didn't have any issues with it. There's invariably water heaters do have issues, but just know that it does take a little bit longer to get that out. And then at the end of each deployment, and again, this can't hold water while we're going. It'll rip out of the things. So you'll hook up to that, and then use.
Is the one I got to do first?
Nope.
Before the other?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Just make sure that typically what happens is you'll drain everything. So you'll just open up the sinks and you'll drain everything into the bladder bag, which we're going to set up here in a minute, right? So everything's just going to get drained into the bladder bag as much as possible. But then there's going to be some of this that just is still in here. And so once that's done, a truck's going to come and suck out the bladder bag. And so you'll connect with the water guys, the water tender guys, for filling this. You'll also connect with them for emptying the bladder bag. Okay. And so those are the water guys that will...
Do we just use the same bladder bag every time?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's just a big old gray bladder bag. And you'll essentially... They'll bring in their hose. They'll connect to this. We do have to have it locked. So again, it's the same code, 1999. The only reason you would need to get into this is if we ran out of chlorine in the water. It typically comes with chlorine, but if you completely run out of it, we do have some chlorine in a bottle that each of the trailers should have. Yeah. And you will really only need a cap full for like this whole thing or whatever it is. You really maybe even start with half a cap full or something. You don't want to overdo it, right? But that would be the only time that you would need to unscrew that, and it should be able to just unscrew. You can put a little bit in, and then
it should already come chlorinated.
It should, yeah, it should, because they're getting it from a potable source, of clean water.
Okay.
If you're doing these water tests, which we won't be able to do one, but I'll show you. You want to hold this pointed towards me? So when you first get there and you get water put in here, you'll go to your sinks, you'll turn it on, and then you'll do one of these chlorine water tests. So we want to make sure that these bottles are clean, so you let it run for 30 seconds, and then you put one of these little packages in there, and then just turn it on a trickle so it doesn't overflow, and then just fill it up to that line. You'll put it in there, and then you'll just hit the test. And it can't be more than there's a specific amount. I'll get it here in a second, but it can't be more than that. And if it is, then we might need to drain the system if it gets too high, or if it's too low, we would need to add chlorine to it. So, and you would do this when they fill it every time, and then you'll also do it once a day. And then once you've done that, you'll log Let me see if I can have this go off. And there is instructions for this right here. It's a instruction manual. You know, if you ever have questions on it, as far as how it works, or if it's giving you a bad code or something like that.
Okay.
So we'll just leave that right there. And then every day you'll want to log that you've cleaned it, you know, in the morning, and then in the afternoon that you've cleaned it, and then also the chlorine test level. It's typically going to be anywhere from, you know, 0.2 or 0.3 up to 0.7 or 8. I'll have to look at the specifics. I'm trying to remember what it is right now, but I will look at that and get that to you.
Okay.
As far as what it should not be above. And this will have some just cleaning instructions if you ever. This is something that we actually have to have for when they come and do an inspection on our trailer. There'll be what's called a Viper, and they're the ones that inspect to make sure that we have all the specifications, you know, that everything's potable, that we have our instructions. So this is required to have this in here, and then it is required to notate when you've, you know, cleaned it. And then when you do have the water brought to you, you'll want to have the filling date, so that'll be the date that it gets filled. And then actually this is long-term storage right there. This is, so that's long-term storage. This is at the fire assignment when they do bring it. The water tender can sign, or you can sign for what it is, and the source. So there'll be a specific source that it comes from. A1 Water, I believe, is the company that did this particular one. You'll just fill that out. These are just kind of post and pre-season. These are things that we'll do. And then if Viper does ever ask you about the specific locking mechanisms or the different pump, like the specific pump, it has to be food grade. All that information is in here for them to, you know, take a look at if they need to. The filtration filters, which are right there, and the different areas that they're at, and it has the specifications for that, so that we are in compliance. And that's for the daily logging that you've wiped it down. At least twice a day, you're going to want to notate it here. You may have to log more, you may have to clean more than twice a day, though, just depending on that. All right, so when we first get in here, we obviously got to get power to the pump so that it can start pumping into our pressurized unit. And so this will get plugged in to the inverter, and if you know you have something else in there, you'll want to take that out. This is our automatic on and off system, to where it can turn the lights on and off at certain times throughout the day, so that potentially you could sleep in a little later and it'll kick on at 5:30 in the morning, or whatever it's set to. I think right now it's set to kick on at 4:55, which most places, I believe, go from 5 to 10. They don't want the lights on in the camp, before, too much before 5 and too much after 5.
Okay.
So we kind of go with that. If you ever need to reset it for whatever reason, if they're telling you, hey, we need it, then you should be able to just come in here and reset it.
Okay.
If there's ever a big issue and this isn't working, just unplug it, and then you'll just have to get up at a certain time and manually turn on the lights at a certain time.
These switches, though.
Those switches right
Okay.
there. One of them will turn these on. The other one will turn those on so that people can, wash their hands with light. I don't know if I want to plug this in right now because I don't think I don't want it to run without water.
Yeah.
But essentially what you'll do is this will be filled up. Now, when it's getting filled up, you'll actually want to have it turned off so that the water is not come flowing, and you do want to make sure these are turned off as well, and these caps need to be put on just so they're not leaking. This one was just an extra one, I don't know, but yeah, all the caps are on really good, and so we're checking those. This does have a primer option, and so it's just a water primer. If for whatever reason you didn't do it, it's not gonna ruin the unit, but I think it just helps for it to run smoother if you do prime it. And you're actually just priming it with water. So really all you need to do is just get a water bottle. And this is again why you want that closed, because if this was open, water would become now pouring out of there. So you want to leave that closed while you're priming it. Just pour in, with a water bottle, pour some in until you have it in there, and then just shut it. And again, it doesn't have to be super tight, just enough to where it's not gonna leak. And then at that point, you'll then want to open it so that you don't run this dry without water. Okay, and then you'll plug it in. It will just automatically start. There's no on and off switch that I'm aware of. I always would just plug it in. So you plug it in, it starts sucking it and putting it into the pressurized tank, and then from there, that will go into the hot water heater, and you'll just want to make sure that that's open. I've never closed this. I've never had a need to, but like I said, if you ever need to work on something, you can close different valves. Here's another one right there. There is tools to work on for like crimpers and stuff like that. The units should have those, and that may be in one particular unit. I'll have to check to see if we have any in here. But if for some reason you have any leaks and you don't have, there are some replacement parts and stuff like that, and it might also be in the black containers. But if for some reason you don't, and you have to leave even 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours away, whatever it is, then we got to do it. We let them know, hey, we got a leak. We're just going to shut it down for a couple hours, and you can pull up the thing, probably put a little sign on it or something like that, down for maintenance, be back in a couple hours.
Depending on where the fire is and where the locate camp is.
Yeah, usually you're pretty close to a small town that has an ACE, a Nampa, something like that. I'm trying to think if we were ever really, really far from, typically we're within, 30 minutes to an hour of a small town,
right.
Somewhere where you can do that. So, as far as anything else goes, we just got towels for the cleanup. This is the replacement for the towels in there. This one does have a shovel actually. Got the replacement tire for the trailer if we ever need it. This just pressurizes on its own, so you really don't have to do anything about that. Once this is good to go. It just stays on and it just goes and does its thing. And then just do everything in reverse when you're shutting it down, right? You'll turn things off, you'll shut things, you'll take the canisters out, you'll put them back. In here, that should be it. What we're going to do next is the
Do you want to unplug the pump first?
slider bag.
When you're turning things off, or
Yeah, I mean, as once everything is drained, right?
Okay.
Then you can, and you don't want to so you want to watch it, because when it gets down to nothing, you don't want this just going with air and burning the pump. So yes, once that's down to nothing, then you do want to do that. A good helpful thing to do to help drain the unit is to, depending on the land and where you're at, you can either jack up or jack down the jacks to where it's off kilter, right? And the drains will go. Is it that way? Let's go back there and see really quick, just to see which way it would go. So you would either jack it up or you would jack it down, and you could even use the front to help jack it up or jack it down as well. So that came out. So that's an issue. We've got to put those back on for whatever reason. I don't know why they came out, but they did. So that's something that you would want to come and check before, obviously, you turn on the water, is you want to come over here and you want to say, hey, why did these come off? These are essentially just unscrew it, put it back up, and then screw it back on, and that should be, that should be fine. But so in order to drain everything properly, you'd want the trailer to be tipped that way. So you could put it down, could even jack up these back here, and then it would help to have all of this water,
all the water flow out.
all this water drained out. Okay, let's go ahead and stop the video for now.